What is good? What is good? Pardon my presence YouTube channel. This is the first time I've gone live. It's impromptu. Figured I'd give it a try and see how it works out. I don't know who's listening. I didn't really tell anybody about this. I didn't send any invites, although I might later on. But I wanted to have a discussion about something that I saw. There's an article about Major League Baseball. Now, I'm not really a baseball fan anymore. I was back in the day when the Toronto Blue Jays were winning, when they went back to back. But since then, I haven't watched it at all. Right? I stayed away from it, to be honest with you. But one of the things that I always look for when it comes to these types of stories. Now, I'm going to get into the story. I'm going to read the article as well. But one of the things that I always wonder whenever I see a headline, and I'll just share my screen just to give you some indication as to what I'm talking about here. It's a headline. MLB makes $100 million commitment to increase black participation. So they're referring to trying to get more black people into the sport of baseball professionally. And to me, there's a lot of question marks about this, right? Because number one, whenever corporations give out a large sum of money, especially large sum of money to black people en masse or any racial group en masse, the question is, what are they trying to accomplish? How do you gauge their success? What is the end goal? What time frame are we looking for to get this all resolved? No one even knows, right? But the interesting thing about this is that the headline is always the dollar amount, never the details, never the plan, never the rollout as to how this is going to get done. Just the number is what's discussed. So I just want to go over this article. I'm going to read it, okay? Now, I'm going to give you a warning. My reading level is very, very, very average. And it's even worse when I read out loud. But I'm going to read it anyways. Bear with me, okay? So this is an article that came out earlier today. And it reads as follows. Major League Baseball will give at least $100 million over 10 years to the Players Alliance to help raise additional $50 million aimed at increasing the number of blacks playing the sport and eventually making the big leagues. Commissioner Rob Manfred announced the decision before Monday night's All-Star Home Run Derby. Now, apparently there's the All-Star game that's happening, I guess, this weekend or this week. So that's what all of this is about, right? So the timing, that's the whole purpose of the timing, right? Before I continue, I do want to send a couple of notices. Just give me 1 sec if you don't mind here. I want to see what I could do here. Just bear with me, y'all. Before I get going into my article, I just want to go over one thing. Let's see if I could send this. This is my first time going live, so again, you're going to have to bear with me on the things that I need to know and be aware about going online. There we go. Yikes. Okay, so let me get back into the article. Okay, so again, there's All-Star Weekend happening in baseball, so that's the reason why this is coming out, right? It's all timely. But what the commissioner says is that we want young people, period, playing the game, particularly young people of color, Manfred said at the Coors Field News Conference. Right, so Manfred is the commissioner. He's joined by a couple of other baseball players that he mentions. I guess these baseball players, Mark McLankin, Alex Reyes, Marcus Simeon, Tejon Walker, Zach Wheeler. I guess these are either black baseball players, former black baseball players, or baseball players of color. CC Sabatitha. So it seems to be that case, right? Now, there's also a couple of owners that were there as well too, from the Colorado Rockies and then the Los Angeles Dodgers. Okay, but it goes further. It says the Players Alliance was launched last year, and the MLB and the Major League Players Association announced $10 million commitment last September. In addition, 500 players donated all or a portion of their salaries on April 15th, which was Jackie Robinson Day. So it seems to be a really big push to get this done, or to make some type of significant change as far as how many black people are involved in the sport of baseball. Okay, now going forward, MLB says it will give $10 million annually starting in 2023, plus obtaining $5 million in a yearly matching contributions from Players Alliance fundraising. 24 major leaguers participated in the program with 150 children on Monday. This is about getting kids that maybe wouldn't be able to play baseball the opportunity to play baseball. Monfort said this was a big ask for owners to give up this money, even though it comes from Central Baseball. Central Baseball is owned by 30 clubs. Okay, now, a couple of things with this. Okay, as I said already, whenever they throw out a dollar amount, that is the headline, but nowhere in that article, because you heard me read it to you, nowhere in the article does it give any explanation as to how they plan on getting this done. And the other part about it is that there's no shortage of black people in sports. I mean, yeah, sure, there's a shortage, or it seems to be, black people in baseball, according to them, but there's not a shortage of black people in sports. And black people can be in all sports at a significant percentage. So why is it important for black people to be in Major League Baseball? Because you don't hear about golf giving out millions of dollars. You don't hear about tennis doing this. But why baseball? Okay, now there's another article that I came across, and that article, I guess, is by some type of blogger, right? A routine.com. I'm not sure. It's a blogger. So take the information here with a grain of salt. But what they're saying is that based on, I guess, 2020 stats, or from articles that they got in 2017 and 2018, and based on Infogram, MLB players, the percentage. I'm going to share this screen as well too. What it says here is that by percentage, by race, 57.5% of the baseball players are white, 31.9% are Hispanic, 7.7% are black, and 2.9% are Asian or other. Now, I wonder, because when they say Hispanic, who are they referring to? Because you could be also black and Hispanic, can you not? At least that's what I thought. That's what I figure. Right? And you could also be white and Hispanic. So how are they gauging that? We don't know. What's up, Troy? This is my first live. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm rolling with it. But what I have here, just going over the details, African Americans don't seem to be represented much in baseball, according to these numbers. But is that a problem that they need to fix? Is that a problem that they need to throw $100 million at? Because when you look at other sports, let's talk about football, where it's been said that 70% of the players are African American. 70%. So in other words, that's an additional amount more than the 57.5% white players in baseball. A significantly larger amount of the demographics in football is African American. So, in other words, is there a issue, or is it the fact that maybe black people just prefer other sports? And is there a problem with that? Why do you need to have black people in baseball? Right? So it makes me wonder, okay, what's the purpose of doing this? What are they trying to accomplish? Because I don't see them giving out money for any other ethnic race or any ethnic group for other sports. And again, whenever you hear about corporations giving out money, you always have to ask yourself, how are we gauging the success for this initiative? Who is in charge of this? Where is the money going? All we know is that it's going to the Players Alliance. So tell me how giving $10 million a year for 10 years gets black people in the dugouts, running the bases, on the pitcher's mound, behind the plate, throwing the pitch, hitting home runs, swinging the bats. How do you get black people into those sports? Because I'll be honest, I have children, and I would never put them in baseball for a couple of reasons. Again, this is my personal opinion, because I feel that, number one, the baseball season is long as hell. I don't got the time to put my kid in baseball and having to go to these fields 2 times a week, 3 times a week. Then there's practice as well too, because there's practice. Other sports, when they're kids, soccer, there's no practice unless you're in the competitive leagues. But baseball, it's well in depth. I might not have the time for that. And baseball is also a slow sport. But I put my kids in soccer. Soccer is something that they could easily do. All you need is a ball that everybody shares. Okay, you might need some soccer shoes, but that's only if they enforce it. A shin guard, you pay money for the uniform, which they give is automatic, but that's really it. Again, with basketball, all you need is a basketball and a net. Doesn't take much to start off. So could that be the reason? Some could say that, but there was a larger percentage of black people before in baseball. So the equipment costs didn't get more expensive over the years. At least I don't think so. So why is there, I guess, a decrease of black people in baseball? I don't want to ramble too much, but the point I'm making here is that black people have always been in baseball as long as I've known it. I remember watching Roberto Alomar, Joe Carter, Dave Winfield. Who else? Tony Fernandez. Sounds like I'm saying Hispanic players, but these are black. These are black players, right? So you have all of these black players back in the 80s and the 90s that were in the sport. Has it trailed off? According to these articles, it seems like it has. But then the question is why? If you ask me, I think because the emphasis has always been, well, not always, but in most recent times, the emphasis has been on getting foreign players. They seem to be going after either Hispanics, Dominicans, they're going after other places, Venezuela, or I don't know if they're going after Cuban players. I'm not too sure, but they're going after Hispanic players a lot more. And then you have the occasional Asian player as well too. And then the whites have always been in baseball because it's almost like a national pastime for that culture. Okay, but it seems like black people have trailed off. But it's not because black people are not playing sports at all. They've just got into other areas. And it could also be for the fact that when you look at how the structure set up with baseball, you play baseball in grade school, baseball in high school, you play baseball in college. You don't get drafted and put into the major leagues right away. You have to go through A, double A, triple A. You remember when Jordan retired and went into baseball, he didn't really go into the big leagues right away. He had to go through those minor league divisions. So the barrier of entry for a player in baseball is a lot more steeper than the barrier of entry for someone going into basketball, where you could go from being a high school player like Kwame Brown, like Kobe Bryant, like Kevin Garnett, and go directly into the big leagues and make the money that you're looking to make. Right? So clearly, that might be the reason why. Because the process is a lot more easier for football and basketball. You could get into those professional sports a lot sooner without all the pitfalls that you fall in baseball. But again, $10 million for the next 10 years is not going to fix that. What would fix that is just changing the rules. That doesn't cost much. The only thing I can see, the reason for that money is to provide, I guess, inner city kids, I guess that's what they're trying to imply, to provide them with equipment. But I don't see how that gets black people into Major League Baseball. Because of all the people that get into these sports, only about 6% end up in the major leagues. So we don't even know if this 100 million over the 10 years time frame is going to result in a good return on investment, because we don't know how many kids are going to end up being professional baseball players. They could get injured, they change their minds, they're not good enough to make it all the way through. You don't know. So really, what is this about? And the other part that I have with this, and I'll kind of, I won't say end it, but I'll kind of address this fact too that I think is important to make a note of. It's the fact that whenever these corporations, and it seems to be always with, I guess, a white frame of mind, where a corporation from a white mindset decides we're going to help out black people. And whenever they create these initiatives to help black people, whenever they create some type of plan, it doesn't seem that they ever include black people in the creation of these initiatives. Do they ever ask us what would be beneficial for us? What would help you? What would improve the quality of life for you in those areas, for your family, for your relatives, for your neighborhood? Do they ever ask those questions? No, I've never been asked those questions. I've never been asked those questions. Have you? Where you'll be told what they're going to do for you to help you out. But does it really help you out? Does it really provide you with some assistance? More often than not, no, it doesn't. And then what you'll find is that a lot of times where this money is going, it's not even to black people at all. It will go, as this article points out, it goes to the Players Alliance, which we don't even know who that consists of. We don't know who is the person who runs it, the lead person. We don't know who these people are. That could be another shell corporation that's run by a white person, right? Similar to how when you have people like Bill Gates donating money to charity. But when you read further into the article, the charity that he's donating to is the Bill Gates and the Melinda Gates Foundation. So, in other words, he's donating money to himself. So, you guys are asking, well, this foundation that's under their name that they're giving their charitable donations to, who's in charge of it? Who's the chairman? Who's running it? And then sometimes you'll find out that it's a close friend of theirs, a relative of theirs. They have their offspring as board members, so they have access to the money. And it's just a workaround as far as how to ensure that you give money to your relatives without being taxed as you would be if you did it through inheritance or through your will or through probate, whatever the case may be. That's what I feel that they're doing whenever they do those charitable donations to themselves based on a foundation that they own, right? They never give it to the Boys and Girls Club. You never see Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, whoever, Elon Musk. I don't even think he donates, but you'll never hear them donating to a local charitable organization. It's always to a fund that they control or a foundation that they control. And there's a reason for that. Right? So again, do they ever ask for our input? Because I tell you this right now. If they were to ask a sensible black person, hey, we're going to use you as the spokesperson for black people. We're going to put all of that power into your hands as a person who speaks for black people, right? To give you the title of Al Sharpton, right? Someone of that caliber that speaks for everybody. Benjamin Crump, whoever you want to put there. You ask that person, what would be beneficial for black people to have? Do you think that black person, if they were a sensible person, would they say, we need millions of dollars to be put in baseball? In sports? When our local public schools are being shut down? Our local public schools are being torn down to build condos for gentrification? We don't have the funding to create our own businesses? We're underrepresented in other areas, in other industries. You have black people who own houses, but they're not in good condition. So in other words, renovations, revitalizing the neighborhoods that were once middle-class neighborhoods like Detroit or Flint, Michigan, where they had General Motors and all those places all around America. But they won't give the money there because $100 million will go a long way over 10 years to revitalize neighborhoods where black people were once middle class. But they won't do that. Or another option, you know what? $100 million will go great towards assisting with free education. More black people need to go to college and university without having to deal with the burden of hefty student loans and fees that they have to pay afterwards. Wouldn't that be nice? Let as many as you can, as far as black people, go into college, university, getting degrees and proper education in order to allow them to have a head start when they get out. Not even a head start. Really, it's an opportunity to catch up, right? With other groups of people who end up going to college, not having to worry about the cost of the tuition because it's covered by their parents or by the inheritance, whatever the case may be. So that $100 million could go a long way if it was put towards that. But instead, no, we're going to put the 100 million towards getting your kids to play baseball because we need black children they need to be in the farm system in order to put them where they can make money for us in the MLB. Because that's really what this is about. And I wonder because, and maybe I'm going out on a limb for saying this, student loans we so the burden to apply for a home loan. Yeah, I heard about that too, Joy. But I heard there's some caveats to that as well too, as far as uh, the student loans not being held against them when they're applying for a mortgage. But that's an interesting point to make. But there's so many things that the $100 million could go to, right? But it makes me wonder because, from what I understand, baseball has I wouldn't say a problem, but their union is pretty strong compared to other unions in professional sports. And if I'm not mistaken, their players get paid the most. Of course, European soccer players get paid the most. I believe Messi just got a deal for $624 million over 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. But out of the American professional sports teams or professional sports, I believe baseball players get paid the most. I wonder if the push to get black people into professional baseball is a way to kind of prevent the cost of the players' salaries to go up. I don't know, because when you look at other sports, you look at football. Football's paid the least, and that's where you have the highest concentrated amount of black players. Now, of course, they pay the least because there's a lot of injuries, there's a lot of issues. But if you notice, the NFL, their union is probably the worst. They don't have much leverage, not as powerful. And then when you look at the NBA's union, the way how they handled the last issue with the strike and how players really weren't working together and they kind of folded on certain things, they could have done a lot more. So it makes me wonder if the push to get more black players in the MLB is to kind of even out players' salaries in some sort of way. Who knows? But all these things, you have to question. Where is this money going to? I remember the big headline when the Black Lives Matter protests were going on after the murder of George Floyd. And you have all these corporations donating money. YouTube was donating money for black YouTube content creators. I'm a black YouTube content creator. I didn't get anything. Joy, did he get anything from YouTube out of that money that they were saying they were giving out? I didn't get anything. So it just goes to show you never know. You never know what's happening here. You never know what's going to come of these articles, what's going to come of these initiatives where they're giving out money, where they say they're doing something. It's just a headline, and there's never any follow-up. We never find out where the money went. I like to know where all that money went for black YouTube content creators. Where did it go? Did Kwame Brown get the money? Is that why he came out of nowhere and he has this huge following? Who knows? Did Hassan Campbell get the money? Did Lennon Honor get that money? Where is the money going? Who's getting it? Who determines how it's shared? No one knows. And no one's ever going to know. Because these things are all about public relations. It's all about marketing, all about looking like they're doing something of importance, of significance, when really they're not doing anything at all whatsoever. Right? And it just goes to show you, when you look at this from a critical standpoint, when you look at this from a standpoint that it doesn't take much money to assist a black family, It doesn't take that much money to put a child through university. Of course, it does for the average family, but for a corporation willing to spend 100 million, that doesn't take that much. I believe LeBron James made a promise to put the kids at his charter school through post-secondary education. So clearly, if one man could do it through, I guess, all of his sponsors that helps him with the school, if he's able to do it, then it's something that does not cost much at all. But they won't put the money in places that will actually help Black people. They won't put the money that will even out the playing field. Because again, if you really wanted to help Black people and the condition of Black people, you would provide this money for people who want to become doctors, who want to become engineers, who want to become software programmers, IT specialists, all of the industries that are growing, all the industries that pay a good amount of money, all the industries that doesn't really take that much talent. It's all about putting in the effort and you could get the job. And I guarantee you, if the same Black child would have put the effort that they put into dribbling the basketball, the effort that they used to dunk and to build their basketball IQ and their skills, if they put, because then that takes a lot of time, a lot of hours, a lot of time. Trust me, because a lot of these athletes, that are professional players, they were recruited back in grade school. I have a friend whose son was recruited at 7 years old, and they've put him on the fast track. He's in football. He's doing tournaments in Miami and everything. So they get them small. So if you think about all of the hours, all of the months, the years that they put into playing a sport, that same dedication, that same drive, if you put it towards becoming a doctor, a dentist, an IT specialist, a software engineer, an accountant, project manager, whatever the case may be, you would be at the top of your game. Because in order to get into the NFL, the NBA, you got to be in the top 6% because only 6% ever get in. Only 6% ever make it. So when people laugh at Kwame Brown, this is the whole thing. People will laugh at Kwame Brown, but he was part of that 6%. The rest were the 94% that couldn't make it. So that in itself, coming out of high school, was an accomplishment. But we shit on these athletes because we look at them as, well, they're just guys who bounce a ball, guys who throw a ball. But we look at the hours that they spent in their craft. They're skilled people. But that same effort, time, and drive and push by the parents, we could push those same kids into STEM, into sciences. And with that same drive, that same support system, the same scholarships, we would have more doctors, probably a lot more doctors than we'd have. Not even probably, we definitely would have more doctors than we would have professional sports players. More accountants than professional sports players. We probably already have that, to be honest with you. We look at it, but we have definitely a lot more. And I guarantee you this. Black people will be in a better financial position if we were all middle class than the few that make it into that 1% category where they're making millions and millions of dollars. That's how I look at it. That's how I look at it. You let me know how you feel about this. If you have anything that you wanted to say about this, you can leave in the comment section. I really have a problem with these corporations coming out with these headlines saying that they're doing something and we're supposed to believe them. And we're supposed to look at this and saying, well, the NBA or the MLB is doing such a great thing for black people, but we don't need black people to be involved in baseball. They're already involved in football. They're already involved in basketball. They just started to get put in positions, in head coaching positions in basketball. Not nearly enough in football. But again, we are not underrepresented in sports. So this amount of money that they're putting in there is ridiculous and unnecessary. So I'm going to leave it at that. I wasn't really trying to, I guess, have a debate on this. So just trying to voice my opinion. It's an impromptu live stream just based on what I've come across with this article. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. But leave comments in the comment section. Like, comment, subscribe, share this live stream. Until next time, I'll leave it at that. Pardon my presence. This is my first live stream. I plan to have many more. You let me know what you think about this. But until next time, peace, joy. Thank you for your support. Anybody else who's watching in the shadows, until next time, peace.